Meow, Huples cat. We're going to look at what would we do if the aliens came. But what do we do if the aliens come and they wish to convert us to their religion, which we don't like because it involves destroying all male children, say. All males have to die because it's a female-only society and they reproduce using gene cell technology. Men are evil, men are destroyed. We wouldn't be happy. Well, some people would be happy, but I wouldn't be happy. What do they do if they come and they want to harvest us for meat? What do they do if they come and want to slave us and make us into whatever they want to make us into, like robot soldiers or whatever? Which again, it's a lot cheaper to build robots than it would be to harvest people like us and convert us using technology into warriors. So again, a lot of the scenarios probably are not true. So say they come and they've got malign interest, what do we do? Well, the National Geographic did a good one on this, and our only hope actually was to infect ourselves and be sucked up and used by them and hopefully infect them that way. Of course, they probably have really good antibiotics and they probably have really good sensors and they probably wouldn't happen. So most of our chances, like using helium balloons to get on top of the spaceships and then blow them up and kill ourselves in the process, great stuff, great ideas. We can't fight an alien invasion. Not even Space Force could do it. It's just not going to happen. Our only chance would be, as National Geographic point out, mount a prolonged guerrilla warfare and hopefully eventually make it too costly for them to continue doing it. But remember, the actual startup cost to invade a place like Earth is enormous. To actually cross over the galaxy to get to us is so incredibly expensive we can't even conceptualize the energy required, let alone the industrial might to do that and the will to do that over a period of time. So that raises a few more questions. For example, Einstein said quite clearly that the speed of light is a hard limit. You can't go above the speed of light. Now maybe you can. Maybe you can fold the universe and pop instantly from one place to another, and that would be a method of them actually getting here fairly fast and probably fairly economically. So in that case, yes, we could probably see a lot of people coming to visit. The thing with that is, they can go anywhere they like in the universe. I'm not sure we're worthy of fighting, enslaving, or messing around with. Other than just for pure scientific curiosity, or to study some local phenomenon near the Earth and the Earth's habitable with an atmosphere, so we'd like to set up a base on the Earth because we're going to use your planet to access this other place nearby the Earth that's kind of really interesting on a galactic level from our scientific point of view. And they'd probably ask permission because they don't really want to get into a nuclear war with us because it's kind of annoying to have to fight little roaches. If you can just get them to go away from you, it's a lot better than just wiping them out. Of course, if they have no conscience and they have no humanity in them, or if they're like a lot of corporate people on the Earth, they would just destroy every living thing on the Earth, but keep the atmosphere intact, which you can do by using ionized radiation, and then use the Earth as a base, but never have to worry about us annoying them. So let's assume the Ark ships have arrived from Proxima. There's hundreds of thousands of them on there because their planet was dying. Again, a very common trope. But the thing is, if you can build enough spaceships to send most of your civilization, or a small chunk of it, to another solar system, you have enough technology and power to actually create safe zones on your own planet and repair the damage that's being done. If your sun is going to go nova, then you might look for a new habitable planet. So that would be a more realistic thing. And they would probably look for a closer planet because people like to be near their home even if their home is about to be destroyed. So we could see a mass invasion of aliens coming to conquer the Earth, to take over the Earth, to then create their own version of their own original planet here because their planet's going to be eviscerated by a nova. Again, there's very little we can do apart from go along with them and hope they treat us okay. Now, one of the fascinating books that I've ever read, and I read it recently, is a trilogy called The Three-Body Problem. It's a really interesting book. There's multiple apocalypses in it. It starts out in prehistory for me in the Cultural Revolution in China. It's written by a Chinese gentleman and it's very Chinese in the way it's written, but it's got a lot of interesting little parts to it. And I don't want to put any spoilers in because it's one of the best trilogies I've ever read in science fiction. It's so good that Kitty, who doesn't like science fiction, read it and loved it. So it has broad appeal. One of the sections in it has an ant going on a gravestone, tracing out the letters. And it endeavours in the book, and this is why the book's so interesting, to look at that activity from the ant's point of view, and then it flips out from the ant to the human observing the ant. And I think that's a really key thing. And I don't want to really spoil the book, and I'm not going to, but one of the major theories of the book is that all life that's intelligent, that's technological, is a threat to all other life that is intelligent and technological. If 1 in a million societies that can go into space is xenocidal and evil, all the other societies know that and will act early, not late, to deal with a threat. So in other words, humanity could be seen as a potential threat. Now, we're not really a big potential threat, and it's a lot cheaper to send a very small robotic ship into the asteroid belt of the solar system and literally put a few jetpacks on a few big rocks and go fum, fum, fum. Send like 10, 20 dinosaur killing rocks on a trajectory to hit the planet, actually send them around the sun so we don't see them for a couple of weeks, and even if we saw them for a couple of months, we can't stop them. They would impact the Earth, they would sterilize pretty much the entire surface of the Earth, end of threat. So you don't need to destroy the sun, you don't need to invade with fleets, you can do it quite cheaply by lobbing rocks. So any scenario that involves an alien invasion is going to inevitably result in 3 things. We are either going to go along with that invasion and do our best to suck up to our new masters, because we have no choice, or we're going to fight and be obliterated, or we're going to hide. So hiding is maybe the best thing we can do. We don't, generally speaking, put ant traps out in our gardens. We do put them in our houses. So if we're in the aliens' way, we might find that they put traps out for us. So we might look to see about going different places in our own solar system, like Mars or Jupiter and their moons, and try and figure out if we can stay there for a bit, those of us who can get out. Those of us who have to stay, we have to adapt to the fact that we are no longer the prime species on the planet. Until they leave, or until they see us as equal, we are the subservient species. So having lots of preps in place, but being able to move them, being able to deal with the fact that you are no longer going to be the prime predator on the planet, you are no longer that. You are now going to be a subservient species or a hunted species, so you need to hide. And that's going to be very difficult for people to adapt to. And again, I'm not really sure that any aliens worth the salt to go all the way here are going to be bothered to do that. It'd be much more interesting for them to fiddle around with us a bit for fun. Observers, maybe give us a few hints here and there, and a few bits of technology, see what we do with it, see if we make them laugh. Entertainment is a big thing. A large part of human endeavour in this part of our technological climb is actually spent on entertaining ourselves, because otherwise we feel bored. So there is a highly likelihood that if we can entertain the aliens, they may tolerate us and even help us. So I'm sorry if I bust a few bubbles here, because frankly they're not coming in big ships and they're not going to destroy the Earth, because it's pointless. It's not economically feasible. They might come here for religious purposes and do genocide that way, but again, I don't think it's likely. I think it's not something I'm personally going to prep for or worry about. What I am concerned about is aliens actually being already present here and interfering with what's going on. That would alter our ability to be a free species, and a lot of people are upset about freedom. But if you think about it, if a ship has travelled for 500 or 1,000 years across the void, or has come almost at light speed over a couple of decades, or is able to go faster than the speed of light and has arrived here and is in communication with our world's governments, we've already lost our freedom. Nobody's going to mess around with them. Nobody's going to say no to them. They're like the biggest celebrity going. And there's no way any government's going to say, well, you know, I don't like what you're saying, leave. This is our planet, our rules. I don't like what you want us to do. Go away. Because we can't even defend from naturally occurring asteroid strikes on the planet. At any moment, at any given moment in time, we could be a week or 2 weeks away from utter, complete human life annihilation on this planet by an asteroid strike. We could do that. If we were out in the asteroids, we can actually do that quite cheaply and easily right now with our current technology. Once our technology allows us to get to our asteroid belt, which is, like I said, almost no distance from the Earth compared to how far these creatures have come from, there's no chance that we're going to fight them. So in terms of things to really lie awake about at night worrying, fighting the aliens to defend the Earth is not something you should actually spend any amount of time on, though I thoroughly recommend reading and watching films on the subjects because they're fascinating. But I always think it's worth understanding the basic premise behind the idea is completely faulty. There's no real chance that this is going to happen because of statistical probability of occurrence, but also because of the likelihood of them being malignant is very, very low. So I wouldn't worry about aliens. What I would worry about is what human beings are getting up to, what human beings are doing to the planet Earth, changing its atmosphere and changing its soils and changing its seas. We're using our own technology, which is at a very rudimentary level, to fundamentally alter our own biosystem. And our biosystem has one, it's called the Earth, and it's completely at the mercy of everybody on the skin surface of the Earth fiddling around with it. And if we keep fiddling around with it, we might well cause our own extinction, or at least a lot of suffering and pain and illness. We're already seeing large amounts of asthma and cancers and all the rest of it. We all know that. These are not inevitable consequences of technological rise. They are byproducts of not doing technology in a way that protects and cherishes the nature that it's forming in. You can do both. You can reach for the stars and you can travel to the other star system without inevitably wrecking your own biosphere. That's not a real smart thing to do. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you're not going to worry too much about aliens. If they do come, hide and don't fight them and go along with them. Because let's face it, they've been around a lot longer than us and they may well have things to teach us, because it's not always the point of view that we have to be the prime ape on the planet Earth and we have to stride across the solar system destroying the bugs. We might actually want to talk to them, because that's the other thing, isn't it? Starship Troopers. They fought back when we were invading their colonies. Toodles. This is a Marmalade Cat production, 2021.